Win It. I'm Jason Go with Jacob 11. With me is Nick Rodriguez at N Rodriguez DFS. And it's the last regular season slate of the year, and about 80% of the team starters are not playing tonight. So there's a lot to go through. It's definitely a game or a night where you want to find maybe the couple teams that do have stuff to play for. You said you really just want to narrow in on the games that mean everything.
Yeah, especially the games that mean something to me, which is Heat Celtics. For some reason, that stands out to me the most. I'm not sure why, but maybe because I'm a Heat fan, but that game really sticks out. And the Hornets one sticks out to me as well. Orlando and Hornets. Hornets are playing for something, and the Hawks as well.
Yeah, you do have some seeding going on. You also have, well, technically the Kings aren't playing any players because of Cousins, Gay, and Rondo are out. Collison sat out the last game as well. But Houston does have something to play for. They need to win to make sure they're in because the Jazz are playing the Lakers. And if the Jazz were to win and the Rockets were to lose, they'd flip-flop. So Houston controls their own destiny. They just have to win out. So I'm playing Harden tonight. I just think I'm going to lock him in. He's not going to know what's going on in that Jazz game. He's going up against the Kings defense that's been bad all year, and now they're just a second-string team out there. I think Harden's just my guy to play tonight as far as the superstars go.
Exactly. They need a win to clinch that A seed, and what better guy to roster in than Harden? Should see 30, 40 minutes easily.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, yeah, there's a little blowout concern there, but still, either way, he's going to find a way into my lineups tonight. Going game by game here, looking at some injury news, and starting off with Atlanta, Washington, John Wall, Bradley Beal, questionable, or Wall is out. Beal is questionable for tonight's game. Ramon Sessions, Garrett Temple, Marcus Thornton, all great value plays on tonight's slate. It's not a favorable matchup at their price tags. They'll certainly hit value.
Yeah, especially Sessions. This guy's been balling as of late. In his last 10 games, averaging 30 minutes, 36 fantasy points. So he's producing.
Yep,
Definitely a guy to keep out on.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And one guy that's been kind of sneaky is Marcus Thornton. 32 and 31 points over the last two games. Minutes over the last two games, 19 and 16 points. I've been playing a little bit more just because of the injuries going on. Kind of a sneaky play at small forward as far as value goes.
Yeah, especially if his three-point shot is falling tonight. You can easily see him having a big game.
Yeah. And there was news that Atlanta was going to rest some guys. I'm kind of staying away just because I'm not quite sure with that Atlanta rotation what they're going to do tonight. You could possibly see like Dennis Schroeder kind of pick up some minutes in the backcourt, Mike Scott in the front court, possibly Thabo Cephalosha. Those are probably the three names that stand out to me if Atlanta does rest any players.
Yeah. And if you had to guess who they rested, who do you think it'd be?
My guess would be Teague and Millsap, and probably Horford. I just think it would be the big three.
Yeah, I was going to say Horford and Teague.
Yeah, I mean, those are probably the likely guys. If Millsap ends up playing, I mean, that guy, he goes off all the time and draws a nice matchup. So, any starter that does play, he would become a favorable spot just because usage would tick up.
Oh, for sure. One other guy I'm looking at, I forgot to mention on the Wizards side, is Markieff Morris. Millsap isn't a great defender. Definitely keep your eye out, of course, if he's sitting in that. But Morris could have himself a game, especially with Wall out.
Yeah, a lot of usage to go around. That's a good call. He's pretty cheap price. He can definitely pay that off. Next game, Detroit-Cleveland. This one's not really appealing to me at all, even with the backups in play. You're looking at James Irving, Kevin Love, all kind of taking the day off and going to rest tonight. Reggie Jackson sat out last night. Could sit out again. Also looking at Drummond, he could be a guy who sits out. Really, you're looking at this total here. It's fairly low, sitting at 194 on a full slate. I think it's just kind of a one I'm going to cross off the list tonight.
Oh, definitely. Everybody's sitting, looking for value. I guess Tristan Thompson is the guy that stands out. Channing Frye, and maybe a little Delly.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, those are definitely the Cavs guys that are on board with. As far as Detroit goes, they have really no appealing backup guys at all. If anyone was to sit, maybe Stanley Johnson would see some more minutes. He would become a decent option. But outside of that, there's no one that I really like.
Yeah, and if Jackson said Steve Blake's been playing really well lately, so he's probably another guy. He's trying to prove that he still belongs in the league, so it's an interesting play as well, from my opinion.
Yeah, he played 32 minutes against Miami and 10-7-1. In a tough matchup. So yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, especially tonight against Cleveland, who doesn't play as good defense guarding point guards. So for 3K, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Look at the next game here. You're taking a look at Indiana and Milwaukee. I don't see anyone that's really sitting out tonight yet, although Paul George could be a guy who takes a seat. If things were to open up there, I believe CJ Miles is out tonight. So you could really outside of that, Rodney Stuckey would be the guy to see the most usage and draw a decent matchup against Milwaukee. I mean, there's just pretty much value all over the place. But if George was to sit, Stuckey would probably be my favorite guy to slip in and pick up most of the offensive role, as well as Miles Turner.
Oh, for sure. Rodney Stuckey can ball when given the opportunity. So George does sit. I'm right with you there.
And on the Milwaukee side, it looks like everyone's playing tonight. Chris Middleton, Giannis, Greek Freak there. Expensive, but I think if they're drawing an Indiana team that does play their starter or does rest their starters, they're kind of in play, especially with their high usage and high minutes.
Yeah, especially Giannis. I love how DraftKings has him on a depth chart as a point guard and small forward, because that's really what he is. And we all know his ability to explode ever since he's been given the opportunity to do the ball handling for Milwaukee. So definitely a great tournament play as always.
Yeah, I mean he's been absolutely crushing over the last few games here. 21, 8, and 6. As you mentioned, I mean he's got that ball handling duty. Going to be a point guard next year. It's going to be really fun to see. Yeah, I mean he's absolutely just cruising. I mean triple double upside. So he's kind of one of my favorite sneaky plays tonight. Just because I don't think we're going to be on him on a full slate.
Is he considered baby magic? Baby magic. What do you think?
Baby Magic, you're calling out the big guns with him. You're already comparing him to the greats.
Tall point guard, does some damage. He's not there yet, but he's still young.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna be fun to watch next year. I'm really excited to see this Milwaukee team if they can put probably a better coach behind than Jason Kidd and kind of watch this team do its thing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that situation in the offseason.
Yeah. Next game, and this one does have some meaning as far as seeding goes. Miami and Boston, and there are some decent options in this game. And you're looking at Hassan Whiteside as a solid play in all formats against a Boston team that doesn't rebound well. They don't defend centers well. So the one thing that Whiteside is intriguing with this matchup is he can rack up so many blocks. I mean, it's just insane. So even when he's not scoring, this guy just produces in other aspects of the game.
Yeah, he's an animal, in my opinion. The most fun guy to watch in the NBA ahead of Steph Curry. I know it's tough to say, but I really think he is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, when he's out, like his shots ability is just insane. So like anyone driving the paint, him just reaching up and like swatting away from like 5 feet, in the other direction, it's insane.
I know I'm gonna get some heat on Twitter for saying I like watching Hassan Whiteside more than Steph Curry, but it's what I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot some mentions at you and just call you a homer for that one. Looking at the backcourt in this one, neither have an appealing matchup as far as Isaiah Thomas and Goran Dragic go. But Dragic, kind of a guy who can't take advantage of this matchup, kind of a size difference with Isaiah Thomas. And Dragic's been pretty consistent. He's been a higher usage guy with Bosch down. Wade, on the other hand, not a big fan. He's never been a guy to do much damage against Boston, but has this season. I think just because this is a meaningful game, you can really take a look at most of these guys here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not really touching on any guys. Goran does have an advantage because he's got an intimidating factor. Did you know that he lost a tooth last night for the second time this season?
for a second time.
Second time. He lost the same tooth last night against Detroit.
So, I mean,
So
it's
if
not
it's
funny, but that's, I mean, twice in one season.
he didn't care. He sent a tweet out after the game that he'd rather lose a tooth than lose a game. So I like where his head's at. He's a Heat lifer. Um, he could scare Isaiah away, but the two guys I'm really targeting this game, one is Luol Deng. I think he has a great matchup against the Celtics, and the other guy is Jared Sullinger. The Heat don't have an answer for him. Um, he's small. He can work his way around Whiteside, and he's a good rebounder and shooter. So if he can get hot and have a nice game for the Celtics.
Yeah, that is a good call. So, I mean, I'm definitely on board with Wall Dang. Jared Sullinger is another guy who has given the Heat fits this year. 2 games, averaging 14 and 9. As you mentioned, Whiteside a good defender down low. Not too mobile as far as going out and kind of if you got a guy like Sullinger who can move a little bit. Obviously, he's an overweight guy, but he can. For his size, the guy can move around.
Oh, that guy can move for sure.
And he'll be out, on the perimeter there at times. He's not a big post-up guy down low, so that is one matchup to keep an eye on.
Exactly. So Sullinger, Dang. If Dragic hasn't gone to the dentist, he's another guy. And Whiteside.
Yep. Next game here, taking a look at New Orleans and Minnesota. This is a game where you got some guys in really favorable matchups on both sides. Karl Anthony Towns looking to cap off his Rookie of the Year campaign. He's absolutely destroyed New Orleans this season, averaging 23 and 13. One of my favorite plays on the slate. Kind of curious to see if he gets his full handful of minutes that he usually does, just because he's been run pretty heavily. Did have a down game last game where he only played 27 against Houston, but overall, I think he's one of the more favorable options on tonight's slate.
Oh, for sure. Karl Anthony Towns is going to prove why he's the Rookie of the Year. And the other guy I like on the New Orleans side of the ball is James Ennis, for a 4,200 price tag. He's been playing great basketball as of lately in his last 10 games. He's averaging 31 minutes and 26 fantasy points. So he's a nice cash option for tonight.
Yep, I like him as well. Cheaper guy. Tim Frazier, he's another name, another guard that I'm taking a look at. Over the last 6 games, averaging 14, 5, and 9 with 2.2 steals per game. Nice matchup against Ricky Rubio. He's priced a little bit higher on FanDuel, but either way, I mean, it's a game that doesn't really matter to either teams. You're just hoping they can go out and rack up the score and rack up some fantasy points.
Yeah, hopefully they do us some good in DFS, unlike a lot of other teams on this slate tonight.
Yeah. Anyone else you're looking at from that game, or is it kind of just limited to the big names?
It's limited. We got to wait for injury news. I wouldn't be surprised if some guys from New Orleans sit. So it's a wait and see for me.
Yep, I'm definitely agree. Next one, Orlando and Charlotte. You did mention that this one does have some seeding implications. Kemba, a guy to look at tonight. I know you are on board with him, and I'm definitely with you there. Great matchup against Orlando.
Yeah, I'm all over Kemba, especially with Batum being out. His usage rate is going to go up. And we've seen what he can do in the past. When Batum's out, he's going to take more shots. And he's a great basketball player, and with a beautiful matchup against Orlando.
Yeah, his usage really skies up.
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores more fantasy points than Harden.
Yeah, then I mean that is something to keep an eye on. That would be a nice cheap discount if he did so. As far as other guys from that game, Vucevic is leaning towards probably expects to play tonight. I like him in GPPs just because he's a little bit cheaper than those other guys. Higher usage, not a bad matchup, but you don't see anyone down at Charlotte who can defend Vuce in his high usage. I just think he's a nice pivot play off of those top names that we already mentioned, like Whiteside and Towns.
Exactly, and that's definitely a guy to look at. And one other guy from the Charlotte side, maybe Marvin Williams, consistently hitting 25 fantasy points. That's 5 times value for his price tag at 5,300. So I think he's a nice cash play tonight.
Yep, I definitely agree, and he's torched Orlando this season, 14 and 9 on average in 3 games. I like him a lot. If you're looking cheaper, Jeremy Lin, he's a guy to consider. Obviously coming off a monster game against Boston, 53 DK points, been a little bit up and down. But with Batum out, he'll definitely pick up some more minutes and a little more usage to go around.
Yeah, he's definitely another guy. Him and Walker, if you're looking to build a little stack, mini stack like we do in baseball, those two are probably my top stack of the night.
Yeah, it's a good call there. Philly and Chicago, you're looking at Derrick Rose out, Pau Gasol out as well. Nikola Mirotic, he's a guy who's going to pick up the slack down low. Portis as well. We saw Jimmy Butler play point guard. You're going to see a little bit more McDermott. I mean, it's hard to knock Jimmy Butler in this matchup, but he did only play 29 minutes last game, so the minutes were down. I don't expect him to play a ton tonight. I think if I'm looking from this game, it's going to be really Mirotic or Portis. And then if you really want to get weird, Doug McDermott see some minutes as well. He played 24, and I expect a little more tonight.
I love how you said get a little weird.
But, you on board? Do you like those guys?
Yeah, I like McDermott. I like that call. I read a report earlier to back you up that Butler is going to be limited. It's hard to tell what limited means. That's the only thing they said. So I'm guessing around 25 minutes. So a guy like McDermott could step up, especially with Dunleavy already out, like you mentioned. So I think he's a nice tournament play for tonight's slate.
Yeah, I like him. And on this Philly side, you can look at Robert Covington. As a guy to play in all formats, been really playing well of late. 21, 7 and 2, big usage guy with Okafor out. Another one guy that I like, I think is going to go under the radar is Nerlens Noel. Over the last 4 games, 13 and 9. He's a big defensive guy as well. Great matchup against a team that isn't going to have their usual bigs down low. He should have a feast in the paint tonight.
Oh, definitely. I love Noel, especially for that price tag, 6,400. He's hit 40 fantasy points in his last 3 games. Him and Covington look real good tonight. And maybe a little Ish Smith with Rose out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like Ish Smith. I mean, he's definitely got upside for that price, and that price tag really isn't that bad. I think, with this offense, it could be a game to actually be pretty favorable because it's basically featuring the Bulls' backups, and then you got Philly, who's been running their starters their usual amount down the stretch here anyway.
So this is a fair matchup, in my opinion. Philly against Chicago.
Yeah, this is one game that I'm probably going to be looking to circle and put some guys in from.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
San Antonio, Dallas, the news has been out that basically everyone in this game is ruled out. They might as well just cancel it because the Spurs are resting everyone. We've seen J.J. Barea out, Deron Williams likely to rest. Dirk could be a guy who sees limited minutes. This is one I'm just going to gloss over. I just don't want to. I don't want to look at value from this game. I just think there's other better options to take a look at in more favorable spots.
One guy I'm kind of looking at, I agree with you, but Felton maybe with Barea and Williams probably out. He can see 30 or the whole game for that fact with no guards.
Yeah, that's a nice call. I mean, especially if you're going up against a Spurs team that is their backups. But yeah, I mean, Felton's definitely worth a look. You're looking at that total, just 186. It's the lowest on the night, so I'm not expecting a ton of offense, but I do like that Felton call.
Yeah, and Anderson as well, another guy to look at with that thin backcourt of Dallas.
Yep, definitely. Sacramento and Houston, and this one does mean something. You're also looking at a pretty 2 bad defensive teams. James Harden comes in as kind of your top option to pay up for. Guys absolutely torched Sacramento this season, 35 points per game, real points. And on the Kings side, Seth Curry, I mean, he's going to get all the minutes he can handle in a nice matchup. He's an easy plug and play tonight.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Especially, you see all those plays he made the other night?
Yeah, I mean, he really stepped his game up. I don't know what. Maybe he was just sick of all the Steph Curry news and talk. He wanted to make a show.
He definitely put one on. So he's a guy to look at. 5K. Like we mentioned, Rondo's out, Gay's out, and Cousins. So the usage rate is up for grabs, and I think Curry should have no problem grabbing it. 14 shots last game.
Yep.
20 points, 15 assists. He's showing everybody who the real Curry is.
Yeah, you I mean, you're saying Hassan Whiteside over Curry as far as watching, Seth Curry over. I mean, this is just a lot of respect is down the drain for you on this end of the year here.
Whiteside for Curry. Seth is the real MVP. I don't know.
Looking at some other guys, you can take a look at really anyone from this Houston side in all formats. Pat Beverly, Trevor Ariza, I don't mind. Willie Cauley-Stein and Costa Kufos will pick up many of the slack there. Outside of that, I mean, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, not a lot of. I mean, a lot of minutes to go around for the Kings. It's just who's gonna get it. Wouldn't be surprised if Coach Carl comes out last minute and decides to rest a couple more guys. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. But Houston is a meaningful game for them, like you mentioned earlier. So some of their players is a good idea to attack in your lineups tonight.
Yeah. Next game here, we're looking at Toronto, Brooklyn, another game where there's going to be some rest. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Jonas Valanciunas, all resting tonight. But, I mean, it's a great matchup. I'm looking at Corey Joseph and Bismack Biyombo as the two fill-ins for the most part.
Yeah, I'm looking at those two guys as well. And the other guy I'm looking at is Norman Powell. Every time DeRozan has sat, he's been producing. He played 38 minutes last game against Philly, 30 fantasy points, another good matchup against Brooklyn. I see him having another solid game.
Yep, no, I definitely agree. Great matchup against Brooklyn. I love all those names. As far as the Brooklyn side goes, there's no Thomas Robinson to look at just because he's out. You saw Henry Sims play some big minutes. I'm not a big fan of still the matchup of those Brooklyn guys, but I mean, I don't think it's a bad spot just because they're priced so low.
Yeah, for 3,600, you can't go wrong if it's a bad matchup or not.
Yeah, and the other guy, Chris McCullough there, 23 minutes, picked up 24 points and a matchup against Washington. He's another guy who would fill in, see some time, but really I think the Toronto side is more where you're looking.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Next one, Denver, Portland, breaking into the late games. This is a matchup where we're not really seeing anything rested for Portland. I still think they do see limited minutes, even if Lillard and McCollum don't sit. I still think they play under 30. You agree, or you think they play their normal amount? I mean, tough to call.
It's definitely tough to call. I have no idea, honestly. I don't want to give the wrong answer.
Yeah, I think you should just be aware. I think they're great tournament plays if you kind of hope they play 35 minutes and more and play a full game. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did sit and play less than 30 because, I mean, really, Lillard and McCollum have been heavy minutes guys throughout the entire season. So you need to get them a little bit of rest heading into the playoffs here.
Exactly, but it looks like I haven't heard anything about resting from Portland. I don't know how their seeding is. I've been focusing on the East too much. So I'm not sure how their seeding is, but I think everybody's pretty locked. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it looks like just the bottom of the Jazz and Rockets are the only thing in the West. So I think with that being said, Portland should rest some guys, but you could see a guy like Alan Krabby come in and play a little bit more minutes or something. But I think this is one that I could see Portland kind of resting their guys.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Refresh your Twitter page and make sure to see none of these guys are sitting.
Yeah, definitely. As far as the Denver side goes, there are some interesting, plays just because Portland has struggled against centers this season. I think Nikola Jokic is a guy I'm really eyeing tonight. All of a sudden, he's played 36, 32, and 32 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games after we've been calling for that all year. A great matchup against Portland. I love him a lot tonight.
Oh, I'm with you there. Finally, those minutes for the big men have been so inconsistent this year. I'm happy he's finally getting his minutes. And hopefully next year it's the same thing. Consistent 30, 35 minutes a game.
Yep, definitely. Moving on to the next game here, looking at LA and Phoenix, the Clippers. They are resting their big names. The guy I'm looking at, Cole Aldridge, when he stepped in and played for DeAndre Jordan, he's been solid. Him and Austin Rivers, who's going to play some minutes as well with pretty much everyone out. And And basically those two. I mean, you could plug them in. I'm curious to see how much cash I have left over come the end of the night after I plug in all these guys.
After you can make a lineup just off value plays and probably hit in a double up.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think GPPs, it's just going to be about how much money you can leave on the table and put guys in, because really I could sit at 5K under all day and make a lineup.
For sure. This is ridiculous.
As far as Phoenix guys go, anyone on your radar? I mean, you can look at guys like Devin Booker, but I don't know. I think there's kind of better plays out there as far as from the Phoenix side.
If Chandler sits, I might look at Len. I think Len is a guy to target. He's a young guy, maybe trying to prove he can start at center next year. I don't know. He's one guy to look at. I like Devin Booker. I'm guessing they trade Bledsoe in the offseason. I don't know. I'm just talking rumors now. Maybe Booker proves why he should be the guy to build around in Phoenix. Those are the two guys I'd probably target in this game. Clippers do play good defense. Their bench players play solid defense as well. But those are the two guys I'm looking at.
Yep, I'm definitely in agreement there. Next one here, you're looking at Memphis and Golden State. Golden State does have something to play for, and that's that big record, 73, chasing that tonight. You could use that as a narrative. You could look at Golden State and play them because, it's a pretty favorable matchup against Memphis. I like Draymond Green in this game. I think he's kind of one guy I'll take away from this one. Curry's a little too expensive for me, although there's plenty of value to fit him in. So you can definitely do that.
What do you mean? He's only 5K.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, we're talking about the brother, right? Oh, I heard he's pretty good too. I haven't seen him play now.
He's only won too much Whiteside on your screen. That's the problem.
Yeah, too much Whiteside and Steph. I don't know who the Stephen guy
is. But all seriousness, you can look at the Warriors as solid plays tonight. That game does have a decent total, sitting there at 213, but there also is a huge spread. Memphis, as far as that goes, Zach Randolph, kind of a sneaky GPP play for me tonight. I'll be looking at him just because he's playing a little bit bigger role, a decent matchup. He's been pretty down over the last few games, but if anything, Memphis has locked this one up, but I think he can be out there and play high 20s and kind of produce his usual thing.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but I have two questions for you with that. Do you think Memphis plays as hard because they don't want Golden State to get the record, or they want them to get it and they don't play as hard?
That is something I'm considering tonight. Like, I mean, you got to look at Memphis as being, hopefully they just play with pride and try and knock them off. I mean, they did at home the other night, so I'm hoping you kind of see that there, but this is something that maybe they do take the playoffs into consideration, just kind of rest a little bit.
Yeah, this is a tough call, but on a serious note, Stephen Curry, I think, is an amazing play tonight. A lot of guys are going to look at Harden. If you want to fade him and go with Curry, definitely can. Playing at the Oracle Center, he's got that record on his back. I see him going off, maybe 60 fantasy points. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't either. He's got to match his brother last night, so that's something to keep an eye on.
It's going to be a tough duty for the Stephen guy, but I heard he's pretty good, so I think he can do it.
Looking at Utah and the Lakers, and Jazz have to go out and win this one. They have a great matchup. I'm looking at all these guys. Really, I mean, I love Gordon Hayward in cash games. I even like him in GPPs as well. As far as that, you can look at Shelvin Mack, who's been pretty cheap. He's been a little bit down of late, but obviously a matchup against the Lakers and favors. I won't have too many shares, but I think I'll definitely have one piece of at least a Jazz player in each lineup.
Yeah, I think one piece of favors is an excellent idea. They're trying to clinch a playoff spot. Gobert's out. You might see him get some more rebounds. Rebounds are up for grabs now. But one guy, I heard somebody's retiring from this game. I'm not really sure who it is. I know it's not Whiteside or Seth Curry, so can you talk about him a little bit for me?
That's Kobe. Kobe Bryant, Mamba, done. Last game of the year. He's cheaply priced, and it's a bad matchup, but you know what? From what all the articles I've said, he's going to play as many minutes as he can handle, and you know he's going to shoot as much as he possibly can. So he needs 67 points to reach 25 points per game, I believe, in his career. So look for him to go out and just gun in. He just needs a 40, 50 shot game tonight just to seal off his career.
The question is how many minutes he can handle. I see him sitting on the sideline sometimes, full of rap ice. I mean, I'm hoping he plays 35 minutes, but we'll see what he can handle. That's the key word there. But
Yeah,
he's definitely a play for me in all formats.
yeah, just because of the whole narrative. I mean, you have to.
What's his ownership percentage tonight?
That's what I'm curious to see. I think it's going to be fairly high.
I would say 90
90% for Kobe.
in
So
cash games.
between him and Seth Curry, obviously that's where you're starting your
Oh,
lineup.
that's a no-brainer. Curry and Whiteside, and then
Whatever.
Kobe, and then Kobe,
Yeah. All
and
serious.
then
We're done. We're cutting this off. There's no more Whiteside talk from you.
no, definitely build around Kobe, Stephen, James Harden, and Kemba.
Yeah, those are the big names to really look at tonight, and I'm definitely in agreement because there's a plenty of value to go stars and scrubs, and that's really what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Stars and scrubs is definitely the way to go tonight.
Yep. That's going to wrap things up here with the minutes to win it. Check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.